Check it out, you guys.
Look at her. Wow.
The force is strong.
It is. Very strong. I'm not my,
So this is International Star Wars Day. Is that right?
Is this,
Yeah.
that's in your name?
Yeah, it's May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Okay.
Alrighty.
Number 9 in your books, Day by Day.
Everybody gonna sing? Yeah, stand up.
Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, 3 things I pray, to see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more dearly, day by day. Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, 3 things I pray, 3 things I pray, to see thee more clearly, day by day, love thee more dearly, day by day, follow thee more dearly, day by day. Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, 3 things I pray, 3 things I pray, see thee more clearly, day by day, love thee more dearly, day by day, follow thee more dearly, day by day. Day by day by day by day by
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity of the Valley. Happy Star Wars Day to all of you. Totally fun.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you. It really is my pleasure to be here today. And I had so much fun researching this particular topic because we are definitely a Star Wars family. So I hope that, you can't do the Yoda things with your fingers. Anyway, let's open today's service with prayer. I invite you to close your eyes with me for just a moment. We're so grateful to be here together today, to laugh together, to love together, to learn, to sing, to enjoy each other's presence. We know that at our core, we are one. And in oneness, we send a blessing of love to every person on this planet, knowing that there are many names for God, many faces for God, many paths to God. And yet we believe that there is only one presence and one power active in this universe, and that is the power that we call God, others call love, some call spirit. And from that love, we send a blessing of joy, of togetherness, of acceptance and peace. We are so grateful. Thank you, God.
Amen.
So, you guys gonna sing something?
Oh, yeah, you're gonna do
Give this. This should be really fun.
Okay.
One of my favorite songs of all time, and it was set in it was recorded in the 70s actually. It was Space Oddity by David Bowie. So this should be really entertaining.
And,
If you know the words, join in.
And yeah, what's kind of cool about it is Chris Hatfield took a guitar up to the space station and he sang the song over TV nationally, internationally. And he played this song and it's quite cool.
Completely viral.
A song about space played in space. So it's pretty cool.
If you know the words, sing along. There isn't in the book.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Ground control to Major Tom. Racing countdown, engines on. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade. And the papers want to know whose shirt you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare.
especially here on a Sunday morning. That's probably not on the top of my list. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Let's just take a few minutes before we listen to today's message and center ourselves and catch our breath in my case and probably in Will's case. I invite you to just close your eyes for just a moment. Take a deep breath and let the chair support you. Feel the weight of the world lifting off your shoulders. And as you breathe, just remember that peace is always at hand. It is simply a breath away. I'm going to read the Lord's Prayer as it was written in Aramaic. And I invite you just to reflect on the words as you hear them. Father, Mother, Birther and Breath of all, create a space inside us and fill it with your presence. Let oneness now prevail. Your one desire flows through ours as energy fills all forms. Give us this day our physical and spiritual nourishment. Untangle the knots of error that bind us as we release others. Don't let appearances make us forgetful of the source, but free us to act appropriately. For age to age from you comes the glorious harmony of life. May these words be fertile ground from which our future grows. On this International Star Wars Day, as all around the world people are contemplating the nature of energy and the Force, as they gather together and watch movies and talk. So we too here are fortunate because together we can do the same. Thank you, living, loving Spirit, for this gathering. And so it is. Amen. May the Force be with you. I can't even say it without laughing. It all began in 1977. That's the same year as our family came to Canada from South Africa. It's the same year that Elvis died. It was the year that Rocky won the Academy Award for Best Movie. Roots was the television hit. The music was all ABBA. Dancing Queen and Knowing Me, Knowing You were the two top hits of that year, followed by You Light Up My Life by Debbie Boone. Remember that song? Yeah. I was a teenager, and my life was all about creating new roots as we came to a new country. And I didn't actually get to see Star Wars until 1978. And in those days, the teenagers still went to the drive-in. And now you don't hardly ever see drive-ins anymore, which is such a shame. But they do, but they're not as common as they used to be. And so, to be perfectly honest, the first time I went to see the movie Star Wars, I didn't see a whole bunch of the movie because that's not what teenagers did when they went to the drive-in. Hello? So, I didn't actually see the movie until the week after I had told everyone I'd seen the movie. And that was only because my brother Ron was asking me things about different parts of that movie and raving about it. And of course, I had no clue what he was talking about because I don't remember one thing about the movie when we went to the drive-in. So, my mom's here today. My son will probably see this tape. So I'm not going to say anymore. We're going to move right along. But just know that that's how I first sort of saw Star Wars. From the first opening scene, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, Star Wars revolutionized the movie industry, both technically and spiritually. It was the first movie series to put humans in a completely separate galaxy, pitting the forces of good, the Jedi, with the forces of evil, the Sith, who of course wanted to take control and rule the universe. Star Wars, with its blend of cute robots and interesting otherworldly creatures and diverse and fun-looking planets and really some pretty funny humans, brought us an entertaining, imaginative, and engaging spiritual story without being religious. It introduced a way to examine spiritual concepts to our secular world rather than through the religious framework of the traditional church. And in doing so, it created a movement of passionate fans for Star Wars. You know, on the internet, if you want to find something, you go to Wikipedia, you go to Google, and then quite often something goes to Wikipedia. There's one that is completely dedicated, an encyclopedia dedicated to Star Wars, called Wookieepedia. Kid you not. Did not know it existed, but that is how intensely passionate people who care about Star Wars show their care and love for it. The movie was groundbreaking at the time, but 15 years or so after its first release, I took my son to see Star Wars. And then last year, we had a bunch of kids on May the 4th, of course, who had never seen Star Wars join us to watch the movie. And I was struck by how, despite the fact that, you know, some of it's pretty corny and you can tell that it's an old movie, how much we were still, all of us, engaged in that story. The Star Wars movie truly does stand the test of time. And today, May the 4th, has become a day to honor and celebrate everything Star Wars. All around the planet today, people are watching the entire series of 6 movies in a row, in marathons. They're dressing up, and just as we're doing today, they're chatting about the lessons that Star Wars has to teach us. So I mentioned that there are 6 Star Wars movies. They really are 2 sets of 3. And the first movies, the ones that were released in 1977 and the subsequent years, are the most well-known and actually start halfway through the story. So the movies that were released first are actually episodes 4, 5, and 6. And these 3 movies are the ones that people are most familiar with. They have the Luke and Yoda and the Death Star getting blown up and stuff like that. So let me quickly give you a précis, for those of you who don't know, of just how the movie introduces. It starts with a young man whose name is Luke. He's an orphan, and he lives on a farm with his aunt and uncle in a barren planet, and they're farmers. A spaceship carries 2 droid robots and crashes near them, and of course Luke goes out to investigate. Finds these 2 strange things, and one of them has a message that keeps kind of flickering on it. The character is R2-D2, by the way. So they figure out what the message is, and it's a message from a princess asking for help from an aging wise man called Obi-Wan Kenobi. He is a Jedi Knight. He's powerful and knowledgeable in the Force, in that power for good. And so Luke goes to find Obi-Wan, and while he's away, those evil imperialist forces who are looking for those droids, because they know they're carrying a message, come to the planet that Luke lives on, destroys the farm, and kills the aunt and uncle. So by the time Luke comes back with Ben, there's nothing left for him. With nothing there, and with the princess to save, Luke and Obi-Wan then set off on their adventure. And of course they collect a few entertaining sidekicks along the way. After destroying a battle machine that is called the Death Star, Luke realizes that he needs to become more powerful in the Force. That power for good. And in the second movie, The Empire Strikes Back, he goes to the planet Dagobah, which is like a swampy planet, to find and study with a 900-year-old Jedi Master called Yoda. And Yoda will teach him how to use the Force. So today, we're going to examine some of the wise words that Yoda used and see how we might learn from them as Luke did. Let me see if I can find it first. Oh, half of my thing is gone. You may have noticed, actually you may not have noticed, get your sweater on. Mom, my mom's in the congregation today. Would you mind standing up, please? My mother has a t-shirt on that says, "Judge me by my size, do you?" I told you our family is a Star Wars family.
My grandson came to Disney and brought me back.
Let's see it. Rhona?
Oh.
So,
You can see the backwater too.
in the movie The Empire Strikes Back, Luke is supposed to use the Force to raise a submerged X-wing fighter plane that is half hidden in the swamp. This quote follows Luke's very human exclamation that he can't do it because it's too big. Luke sees an impossible task, and like most of us, he gives up. Yoda responds with these words, and I quote, "Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you?" And then, this old, frail, diminutive, dwarf-like creature raises the plane and teaches Luke a valuable lesson about prejudging people and things based on outside appearances and preconceived notions. Whether it's the size of a task or the physical attributes of a person, Yoda reminds us that outside appearances are false and do not matter. We've all been taught, though, that outside appearances do matter. Weight loss, cosmetics, surgery, cars, fashion, entire industries that are dedicated to the message that physical appearances are important. Now, I want to be clear that there's nothing wrong with looking attractive and presenting ourselves well. Yoda is simply reminding us that those things should not be mistakenly used as a measure of a person's power, ability, or worth. One of the great things about researching and preparing a talk such as this is that I get to discover some Bible passages that I've never even heard of. Again, all I actually do is I find an idea and I Google it, and then this wealth of information pops up and I discover all these wonderful new things. So here's what I read in James. a reminder not to judge, and I quote, "Do not hold your faith with an attitude of personal favoritism. If a man comes into your assembly with a gold ring and dressed in fine clothes, and there also comes a poor man in dirty clothes, and you pay special attention to the one who is wearing the fine clothes and say, 'You sit here in a good seat,' and you say to the poor man, 'You sit over there or sit down by my footstool,' have you not made distinctions amongst yourselves and become judges?" In the Old Testament, God tells Samuel that he's chosen one of Jesse's sons to be the future king of Israel. And Samuel should go to Bethlehem, find the boy and anoint him. Samuel goes to Bethlehem and sees Jesse's sons. And he makes the assumption that the first one that he sees is going to be the king. This guy's name is Eliab. He's the oldest, he's the strongest, very handsome. And Samuel says, I think this is the one who should be king. And God says, no, and I quote, "Looks aren't everything. Don't be impressed by his looks and stature. I've already eliminated him. God judges persons differently than humans do. Men and women look at the face. God looks at the heart." End quote. In the end, Samuel sees 7 of Jesse's sons, and none of them are the person who will be destined to be king. And finally, in desperation, Samuel says, "Got any more kids?" And Jesse says, "Well, yeah, the youngest, he's, you can ignore him, he's just taking care of the sheep." And Samuel says, "Go get him. His name's David." He was considered the runt of the family. And of course, the person who is least destined and expected to be king is the one who becomes king. Not only becomes king, he is the forefather of Jesus, house of David's line. And speaking of Jesus, is that not also true for what we know about Jesus? He was just a regular guy, born to a regular guy, and yet he transformed the world with his heart. Who would have thought that the son of a carpenter would become the one to show us a new way? Who are we to judge? Here's an idea. When reflecting on size matters not, judge me by my size, do you? I found it neat to replace the word size with any kind of external attribute. Height matters not. Judge me by my height, do you? Profession matters not. Judge me by my profession, do you? Weight, height, gender, sexual orientation, religious orientation matters not. It's kind of an interesting idea. With his question, Yoda reminds us to challenge our thinking, and when we make value judgments, to remember that what's inside matters so much more than what's outside. Of course, what's inside Yoda is the Force, and that's what makes him mighty. So let's take a moment to look at the Force. And when my son David was in his teens, we went camping. And out of the blue, we never spoke about religious stuff. Out of the blue, he says, "Mom, do you believe in the Force?" It was completely unexpected. I was completely taken aback. And it was in a time of my life before I had discovered there was a movement called Unity. And I knew that I was searching for answers, but I hadn't quite settled on what those answers were yet. Nothing had gelled until those words. And that was a bit of an aha for me. Here was a God concept that I hadn't really considered as a God concept, but it was one I could understand. And it was a way, of course, to have a meaningful and non-judgmental discussion with my son about the nature of the universe. How awesome was that? Yoda describes the Force this way, and I quote, "It is the energy field created by all living beings. It surrounds us, penetrates us, it binds the universe together. The Force is this and much more. It cannot be fully described with words." And in the scene that I described to you, where Luke is trying to raise the X-Wing fighter, and he finds it too big, Yoda refers to the Force again as the source of his power, and he says, quote again, "Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere, yes. Even between the land and the ship." End quote. In the book, The Secret, James Ray says, you go to a quantum physicist and you say, "What creates the world?" And he or she will say, "Energy." And you'll say, "Well, describe energy." And he says, "Okay, it can never be created or destroyed. It always was, always has been. Everything that ever existed always exists. It's moving through form and out of form." You go to a theologian and ask, "What created the universe?" And the theologian is likely to say, "God." Okay, describe God. Always was, always has been, never can be created or destroyed. All that ever was, all that ever will be, always moving into form, through form and out of form. You see, it's the same description, just different terminology. I thought that was pretty cool. The one thing that I noticed about the Force is they talk about the Jedi using the Force, and then their evil counterparts, the Sith, working for the dark side of the Force. So I went looking to see what the light side of the Force was called, and there isn't one. Everything is either the Force or the dark side. And I thought that was interesting in itself. So James Ray continues in The Secret like this. "If you think you're this meat suit running around, think again. You're a spiritual being. You're an energy field operating in a larger energy field." And I end that quote. Yoda said, as I mentioned before, that we are luminous beings, not this crude matter. What does that mean? That we are not the sum of our physical parts. We are not just cells and skin. We are more than our physical bodies with all of their limitations. The Force, God, Goddess, love, energy, Father, Mother, Universal Spirit, Divine Principle, by whatever name you have for God, you're part of it. We are luminous, energetic, creative beings, part of the Force. God is always with us. Sometimes, though, we don't remember. We don't remember that we are part of God. And therefore, we cannot be separated. Jesus put it this way in John, "I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. My Father who lives in me does his work through me." Yoda, when he talks about size mattering not, says so because he is fully in touch, always and all the time, with the Force. He truly means the equivalent of, with God, all things are possible. So, to be reminded that we're in touch with God all the time, in Star Wars, we use the words, "May the Force be with you." In the non-Star Wars world, say that 3 times quickly. In the non-Star Wars world, there you go. What do we say when we part from each other?
God be with you.
Goodbye. What does goodbye mean? It's a contraction of God be with you. May the Force be with you on the one hand, God be with you on the other. As I said before, Star Wars simply took the traditional religious God out of the picture and replaced it with this concept of the Force. Here's another powerful statement by Yoda. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Some of you were here last week when I spoke about 2 basic emotions being love and fear. And as part of this message from Yoda, I want to address the importance and danger of the fear-based emotion of guilt. One of the most difficult things that we're called on to do as humans is to balance the needs of others with the needs for ourselves. And sometimes we let the needs of others supersede our own needs. Are any of you givers and know what I'm talking about when I say that?
No.
Rosie? Sorry, shouldn't put anybody in context. But honestly, that may not always be the most loving thing to do. Walt and I have been listening to these tapes by Dr. Ellen Kreidman, who in the 80s and into the 90s, and I don't know if she still does them now, but did some relationship tapes that we are finding quite enjoyable to listen to. And she addresses this in a unique way. She uses an example of her husband and her going on a cruise when their children were quite young, and they were leaving their children at home for the first time, which is something that her parents had never done. And she talks about how conflicted she felt when her youngest child begged her not to go. And yet in her heart, she knew that she was a wonderful mother for 51 weeks of the year. She wanted and needed to go on this cruise to rest, to have fun, to reconnect with her husband, and to renew herself. And really just to honor herself with this gift. And the guilt arose because what she wanted didn't match the other people's viewpoints of what she should do, including her parents and her son. She was afraid that she would hurt her kid's feelings, that he would feel that she wasn't loving him enough, that he would be scarred for life, and that maybe her parents had been right to never take time for themselves while constantly reminding the kids of the sacrifices they were making. What would you do? I don't know if I could answer that, but I'll tell you what she did. She went on the cruise. She felt terribly guilty for a day or 2. She had a wonderful time. She came back refreshed. Her love bank account was refilled, as she puts it. She calls it a love cup. And as a result, when she came back, she was ready to continue in her 51-week role as great mom. Her reasoning ties into Yoda's words. If she had stopped herself from doing what she knew she needed to do, if she had given in to the fear and guilt, at some level, she would have felt really angry. Then she would have felt resentful. She would have felt like her needs had no worth. And as a result, she would have ended up being less giving, more unhappy, less flexible, less willing to do whatever the kids really wanted to do. She knew that she needed the time away, and in the end refused to allow herself to be manipulated by fear. Her words are, feel the guilt and do it anyway. In the end, the fear would have led to anger, as I said, which would have potentially led to a version of hate, which is what what Yoda spoke about. Hate is defined in the dictionary as intense and passionate dislike. I think hate sounds much stronger than intense and passionate dislike. But I could truly perceive that if she had not gone on that cruise, how she would have been really resentful to that child, and how at some level he would have known that and felt the consequences. And that would certainly have led to more suffering. I know that when I'm tired, when I'm worn down, feeling underappreciated, and carrying just the tiniest touch of martyrdom, maybe I can be a little miserable to live with. Maybe a lot. Jesus reminded us to love our neighbors as ourselves. We need to remember to be good and honest and kind to ourselves, so we can in turn feel free to live and give love. Here's another quote. Truly wonderful the mind of a child is. This was spoken while Yoda is training young 4-year-olds in how to use their lightsabers. Obi-Wan comes in and interrupts the class because a planet is missing from where it should be on the interactive 3D map that was so cool in those days. One of them solves the problem by stating the obvious and coming up with a solution that had not occurred to these bright, aged, wise men. And it made me think, Jesus said this, unless you change and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. He also said, let the children come to me, forbid them not, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Have you ever watched children? They play. They don't overthink. They don't overanalyze. They just live. Children can find as much enjoyment in playing with the wrapping paper as they will find in playing with the gift. They live completely now. 1 minute, 2 kids can be best friends. The next, they can be at each other's throats and yelling that you're not my friend anymore, I'm never going to talk to you again. And 5 minutes later, they'll be back to being best friends. They take things at face value. They don't know what is actually believable or achievable. For them, a unicorn is just as realistic and achievable as a horse. Children take things at face value. They are not programmed to look at things a certain way, not yet. They have no filter about appropriateness, political correctness, or tact. As any parent who has taken a child to a mall has found out, Mommy, look, that lady's gonna have a baby. No, she's not. I don't know if I should tell this story, but what the heck. When Dave was 4, we went to the mall in Sarnia, Ontario, where we lived. And do you remember the root beer, the A&W root bear, the mascot? Sorry, Dave. Anyway, he was walking through the mall, and I was walking with Dave, and waddling along behind this root bear, and he looks at it, and top of his lungs he says, Mommy, that bear's penis is on the wrong side of its body. You guys think it's it's funny too. It was so cute. It was so real. It was so honest. It was the emperor's new clothes right in front of me. And really, it's such a lovely story. They're sponges for new knowledge, children are. Every day is a place of wonder, of discovery, of awe. Kids don't care if they make a fool of themselves. They don't care if others are watching. They feel their feelings, they name their feelings, and we know what they feel because they share their feelings. When they're happy, we know they're happy. When they're sad, we know they're sad. When they hurt, we certainly know when they hurt. And yet they don't often hold grudges. It is only when adults get into the picture and tell the kids what they should or should not feel that we start running into what I consider a lack or a diminishment of the spark of a child. Because they don't want to disappoint their elders, children start putting up walls around their feelings so that they're not going to be a sissy if they're a boy and they want to cry. Or they're not going to be whiny or some other nasty word if they're a girl and they're angry. In their innocence, kids don't waste energy trying to find hidden meanings behind actions. They believe us when we say that we love them. They believe us when they say that it's not appropriate to say or do something. They believe us, though, also when we tell them that they matter. And as adults, I think we could learn to be more childlike. I think we could learn to play more. I think we could learn to laugh more and remember to laugh more. I think we could be more open to accepting things at face value, to be more willing to see and experience delight in all the many blessings that we have every day, instead of focusing on all the stuff that's wrong. Truly wonderful the mind of a child is. Let us be more like little children. In simple joy and acceptance of this now moment, we will find heaven on earth. There's so many Yoda quotes. I could go on for another 2 hours and still not cover all the wisdom that Yoda has. But time is short. There's more in your bulletin. I found a wonderful poster that has some of the best Yoda quotes. I invite you to grab that and take it home with you and just enjoy reading it. The overriding lesson that Yoda offers is this. We are part of the Force. We need to be mindful of the Force's power and presence in our lives. We need to train our minds in the use of the Force and choose light over dark. We need to suspend our judgments, our decisions that things are impossible, and focus instead with childlike innocence on the infinite possibility of the Force. I hope that you enjoyed this Star Wars journey as much as I did. I have to tell you, I am very grateful to George Lucas for bringing us this piece of spiritual wisdom that is so accessible, that is non-threatening, and that encourages meaningful discussion on the nature of life, the universe, and everything. May the Force be with you.
this one? See if I can sing.
The Darth Vader voice.
It might end up being
Or
that.
You can't buy if you ain't got money. You can't fly if you don't got wings. You can't try getting on with it, honey. This old world wanna get you down. Gotta keep doing your thing. Sun is high, hell, everything's sunny. It's coming down, feels a little like rain. But you can't try getting on with it, honey. This old world won't let you down. Gotta keep doing your thing. That way's up and this way's down. Make no difference when you're hanging around, round, round. We'll get by, put your mind to God. You can survive on less than things. Satisfied, getting on with it, honey. This old world won't let you down. Gotta keep doing your thing. And this old world won't let you down. Gotta keep doing your thing.
You want to sing some?
What do you want?
I don't know, we can just do a different song and...
Oh, well, do you want to do another?
We were gonna just do the announcements first.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
the love offering, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay.
Do let it be or something.
We have a prayer in our bulletin that we say when we appreciate the gifts that have been given and the gifts that we give. So together we say, Divine God, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source, and abundance is my nature. Such a great word, abundance is my nature, because abundance is nature. Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't know if it's good.
Right now?
I don't know if it's gonna hold up for me.
Bulletin number 35 in your books. Let it be. This song is faith-filled. Wonderful song. It's about non-resistance. It's about love and no fear.
Yeah.
You would have said? Yeah. Uh-huh. to be with you.
Oh, that's nice, the force.
Yes.
Remember the force is with you. Now, isn't it so wonderful we get to remember together and we get to recognize together. And it is such a grateful feeling in my heart, and I hope in everybody's heart, that we have a place where we can get together with such wonderful music, wonderful talks, inspiring each other. So in this sense of gratefulness, I ask you to join me to bless these gifts that we have received. Divine Creator, force of all that is, we are so grateful, and we know that you provide us with all the good that is necessary in our life to have wonderful, meaningful lives, to be of service to you. And in this sense, we give thanks. Thank you, God. We know that these gifts will go forth to do the work of the Christ in this world. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so next week on Mother's Day, we have Ken with us. And Kenny has written us a wonderful poem. He has given a few talks. He's an awesome speaker, so I invite you to join us for Mother's Day. It will be very special.
And Carl will be back.
And Carl will be back to do the music, wonderful. And I have to say, every musician who has played here has such a talent. I'm just so amazed. It's amazing talent.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I want to say a special thank you to Laurie and Will, who put a lot of work into organize the speaker, the musicians, to practice with them and to come here and do such a wonderful job. It is really amazing. And then on May 25th, Janet Law will be speaking. June 1st, we will have our lovely Desiree. It's going to be so exciting. And make a special note of June 8th, because we will be at Pixie's house, and we'll give you more information about that. But this space here won't be available to us, or Beecher Street will not be available to us on that day. But Pixie, who has a beautiful place, and she plays crystal bowls, and she will do the talk on Earth Day or Ocean Water Day, because she's an environmental lawyer, and she's long-time Unity, has been Unity president in New West, so it's going to be a lovely service. And then after that, I'll be back. So while I'm gone, which you all know that I will be gone, so we have a volunteer setup sheet, and you know what? I know it will be perfect no matter what, because even if it's not organized, someone always is there, and it always happens. Like today I was being really late, or I thought so, and yet it was perfect timing. We need to trust, and I know that it all will work out perfectly. So, but just in case, you know, somebody likes to see something there, you can write your names in too.
All about trust and faith here.
Tomorrow night we have a board meeting at Desiree. Thank you, Desiree, for opening your house again to us.
And I have a little announcement. I had the most incredible pleasure to go down to a youth group retreat last weekend called. I aligned with the sponsor in Vancouver, and we took 8 teams. 2 flew in from Alberta. The sponsor's niece, and she brought a friend, and we just boom, we 2 carloads, boom. And guess what the title was? This is youth-led. They made up it was the Fearless Forever of Now, which sounds kind of confusing, but being fearless in the now and not allowing fear to overtake you, and how much it's just, I remember Reverend Charlene years ago saying, fear is really false evidence appearing real. It's just all in here, and that it's not being aligned in the force, and allowing that force of love to just trust and know, Holy Spirit, handle this for me, right? Anyways, so I just wanted to say that, and the teams are really looking forward to being the youth. They're doing a kids camp, and it's in June, and they're really looking forward to it. They've got they're all ready for it, and they're, what is it now? I can't remember the title of it. Anyways, but it's coming up, and they're an amazing group of kids. And my daughter Sage went to kids camp starting when she was 7, and
What
loved
age
it.
would that be?
7 to 11, and then they have Uniteens also 11 to 14, which is around the same week. Anyway, so she, really was excited about seeing her friends that she met at kids camp, and they're all now in the youth group. So
It's such a great
it's awesome.
experience
It's
for
awesome.
kids.
You don't have to attend the church to attend the youth camp. It could be an introduction to unity
Yeah.
for children, because it just feels like one big hug the
Yeah.
whole weekend.
I had to take my daughter out of school because the Americans get out of school June 15th. So I actually took her out for a few days because I said, yeah.
So it's on weekdays.
A little bit, couple, yeah.
One more thing is Rhona researched for us now a way of taking credit cards, right? Credit cards, in case, somebody wants to buy some jewelry, which we still have the buy two get one free offer right now. So this is a nice little gadget that is now available. So, and that's about it for now.
I just wanted to mention too that for the youth, if they come to the camp, it's so special. And so tell your friends who have children that, teachers get all their marks done usually by the 15th. So they won't be missing that much if they miss a couple of days of school.
Yeah.
It's really okay.
In the grand scheme of things, it's so much
How
more.
do you find
Yeah.
out about it? Go on the website?
Oh, I can tell you. Yeah,
Unity.
there's a
Yeah, or
Northwest
Desiree.
Unity regional website, yeah.
So shall we?
And one more thing.
Okay.
I found out that my key opened up these doors, and the camp has asked us to use these doors instead of the far door at the side. So that's why you found that door locked this morning, because I just opened this door, we loaded up the equipment. We're just using this door because as the summer comes, they have pre-rented the camp to a lot of groups, and they prefer that we come right around and use these gates and these doors, so we aren't disturbing any of the stuff that's going on. If you know anybody, or if you need an elevator, do call me or one of us, and we will open that door and make sure you get in by the elevator door. But most people haven't been using it, so I just left it, and I thought, just let me know if I need to leave it open for anyone.
But I think they're going to be okay no matter what. If we have to use this door, I think.
Well, it's just locked. It's, I'm opening this door. If someone needs it, I will open that door, but otherwise, we just park over here and come in this way.
Yeah.
It's
So
better for people on the camp.
Want to bless the children?
Yes,
Yes,
it's plus
let's
children.
bless the children. Do you want to stand up?
You want to come up, you can come up here, stand up, whatever you want to read there.
Whatever you
want
want.
to do. And this is a blessing that goes out to all the children in the world.
Children of light, we love you, we bless you, and we appreciate you, and we behold the God's light that shines from you. That one is said many times at camp.
Well, my son started that. My son came back from camp once. John, the oldest, he's past that. But he came back from camp. He was so excited about camp that he started that in the church.
Hold hands and sing the peace song.
Okay, we're gonna sing that there be peace on earth now. It's a wrap. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God
of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Have a wonderful week. Get some lunch, some coffee, some refreshments.
Thank you, Rhona. Thank you very much, Rhona, for your wonderful talk today.
Yeah, I know.
You made it.
Oh, you're like...